pretty straightforward. Okay, so I've got everything in here. I just want to recap some of the things that we talked about because at the end we had quite a few things going on. So lower back pain, is the main thing you came in with, but also you've got some neck issues. The back of your head's numb. It's been numb. The thighs numb, both sides, bilateral, both sides, mid back, you've had some pain there between your shoulder blades. Thyroid issues you've had as well, ringing in the ears, headaches and migraines. Is that about right? Anything else? Yeah. And the number one thing was remind me, I know you did tell me last time, the number one thing was it the lower back pain or the neck?
Lower back pain seems to be the main issue.
Right. Yeah. Cool. That's what I thought you said. Okay, that's good. Good. Anything else afterwards that you thought, oh, I forgot to mention that, or I wonder if this is relevant? Anything else that you thought?
What would you consider relevant?
Well, is there anything that you thought of after we had our examination that made you think, oh yeah, I need to let them know about that as well? Anything that involves your nerve system, I consider relevant. That's what you want.
The nerve system, immune system, I told you about.
Yeah, that's right. The myasthenia gravis. That's the other thing that I've got down here. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's great. Okay. So apart from that, anything else? Is that about it for now?
For now.
Okay. Great. Okay. So that's good to know. And this is what we covered last time. Remember that? It's pretty straightforward because only yesterday. Eh? What do you remember? What do you recall from this then? What was it you remember of this? This is what I help you with. What do you recall from? What does this mean to you?
It's I don't consider it's like some graph, graphic, but it doesn't mean much to me because it's like. I know that there is a problem with my spine. I know that, and all these things going better. I probably know, not probably in the details you do, but in general, I have understanding of that. So,
okay. So from this, then this just helps explain to you what I actually do for you. Okay, which is so we've got physical, chemical, emotional stresses that you have and you've had throughout your life. Okay, varying degrees. When that stress is too big for the body to adapt to it, that's when we end up with an interference in the nerve system. If there's an interference in the nerve system, remember the muscles are going to be out of balance. Remember we did those hand strength tests. I was trying to demonstrate to you then when those nerves are putting pressure on the muscles, how you start to lose strength. And then if the muscles are out of balance, then the structure's out of balance, which over a period of time, months, years, and even tens of years, leads to structural changes, which in turn put more pressure on the nerves, which leads to more of this downward spiral function. Okay, so that's just a way of explaining it in pictorial form. So basically the bottom line is everything is connected, the nerves, the structure and the muscles. And that's affected when you have stress the body isn't able to adapt to. Make sense?
Everything is connected, but the biggest problem, you do everything to find out what connections are the most relevant. This is what the problem is.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the most relevant because if the nerve system's out, nothing works. So I don't need to do any scans for that. That's a given. So, and then this is the nerve map. The brain communicates down with the body. Remember we talked about that, how everything's linked. So how you can have low back pain that can affect all the organs within your abdomen. Okay, now this is brand new then, Mike. So out of 100% of your nerves, I'm just going to go and shut that. I'm just going to shut this one.
Yeah.
Sunlight right in my face. And I'll be right on the screen while I want to show you your x-rays, so that'll be a real pain. There you go, that's much better. Okay, so this just represents a nerve. Now my question to you is, out of 100% of the nerves in a human being, what percentage do you think feel pain?
What percentage?
Feel pain, can actually sense pain.
Oh, not much, I think. Not so, half at least.
Yeah, so like 50%. Yeah, I actually said 100%. I said surely it's all of them, isn't it? But it's actually less than 10% of your nerve sense pain. Okay, so what that means, if you come to me in pain, then I know there are 9 times more nerves that aren't feeling, that don't sense pain, they're in trouble. And those nerves that don't sense pain are this 90% of nerves are these function nerves, okay? 45% are muscle nerves, the other 45% are organ nerves, and they don't sense pain, okay? So you could, when you're in pain, I know 9 times more nerves are function nerves are in trouble, and in some cases you can be completely free of pain, but there can be problems with the nerves going to the function nerves. We don't even know it. Okay, so that's why in this office we say that good health is actually not feeling good. We've been told since we were little, if you're feeling good and you're looking good, you're healthy, you have no symptoms. Okay, but that's not actually true, because we know that the top 3 killers, stroke, heart disease, and cancer, a lot of the times there's no symptoms until it's way too late. Okay, so good health is actually healthy function. Okay, does that make sense?
In general.
Yeah. So good health is healthy function. But just because you're functioning healthy doesn't mean to say you're feeling good. So, for example, if I went to a restaurant with Dr. Marie-Claude, I had a beautiful meal, didn't realize there was some poison in the food that I had, I come back, I'm hugging the toilet, I'm vomiting. Am I sick or am I healthy? What do you think?
Sick.
That's what you think, but actually it's a very healthy expression. I'm getting the poison out of my body. If I didn't do that and the poison stayed in my body, it would probably go into my bloodstream, and then I'd be maybe even dead, but definitely in hospital. So, but you're right, society says Dr. Craig's being sick. Society doesn't say Dr. Craig's in the bathroom expressing perfect health. Yeah? So, but actually, that's a beautiful expression of perfect health. It's perfect function. But do I feel good? No, of course not. I feel awful.
But again, correlations, and your vomiting may be a site of many things. Yes, and the problem is to get connection between what you ate. You can be vomiting of like 10 other reasons.
Yeah, so the cause is the poison. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But the point is, the poison is making you vomit, but the vomit is a healthy response.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
I feel crappy, but it's healthy function. Yeah? And that's where a lot of people will lose it. Or not lose it, but they don't make the connection. Okay, now that's enough of why we're doing what we do. And this is, we're going to jump into what the results we've got for you. And these are 3 studies we're going to look at. This is not your x-ray. This is just an example. Okay, so is it okay if I spend 2 minutes to look at
Sure. Whatever time you have, I have it.
Cool. I'm going to spend 2 minutes explaining what I look for in an x-ray, and then when you see yours, it'll be 100% obvious what's
I appreciate that.
So this is the back of the skull. It's very hard because it's thick. This is the jaw. This is the teeth. So the person is looking that way like that when they took the x-ray like this. Okay? Now when you're looking that way, the curve of the spine is this reverse C-shaped curve. Chiropractors know that this is a healthy curve. The reason we know that, 2 reasons, is when you have this curve, it reduces the stretch on the spinal cord. You have the brain in here, and the brain actually comes down through and runs down the back of the spine, a little bit like in this model here. So that's basically the spinal cord coming down, okay? And then these blocks here are these blocks, and then it comes back to a tail, they're called a spinous, and all the muscles are attached to that, okay? And those little bumps that you feel on the back of your spine, that's hair. They're called a spinous, okay? So when you're looking that way, you've got this reverse C-shaped curve. The other thing that that curve does is these blocks, they can maintain their shape a lot better. They maintain their strength when you have this curve. When the head comes forward, you have more pressure on those blocks, and over a period of time, they act a little bit like a marshmallow, a little bit like if you squish it down, it actually starts to change in shape. Obviously not instantly, but over months and years. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so the first thing I look at is the curve. I want this nice curve. The second thing I look at is the disc space here. This black area here is actually the spacer that we call a disc, just here. Now, if the space is nice and big, this hole stays nice and open. If the spacer gets narrow, what happens to the hole?
Bigger.
If that goes narrower?
Which one?
Yeah, if this goes narrow, what happens to this hole?
Oh, smaller.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. You nailed it. So when I look at x-rays, I want to see nice big discs. Otherwise, there could be a sign that there's pressure on those nerves, or there's a sign there's pressure on the nerves. Then the third thing I look at is the shape of these bones. I want them kind of smooth and flowing. I want them kind of rectangular in shape. I don't want to see any wastes. I don't want to see what have we got here? I don't want to see like a squish marshmallow like that. That's what I mean when I say it's like squishing a marshmallow. Okay. Right. So that's that. Now, this spine, although it's kind of ideal, could still have those nerve interferences. They've got a name. We call them subluxation. So it could have a subluxation here, but we've not seen the effects yet. Now, if the subluxation stays there uncorrected over a period of time, we get changes. So this is about 1 to 5 years of subluxation. It's called phase 1 subluxation degeneration. What's happened to the curve here, Mike?
No, I can see it's straight now.
Yeah, exactly. So the curve is straight there. It's gone straight compared to what it should be. Okay, so that's the first thing I look at. The second thing I look at is these discs. So that's quite wide. That's quite wide. How about this one?
A little bit wide.
Yeah, it's a little less wide. So it's not massively small, but it's getting smaller. Then it gets wide again, wide. How about that one?
Less wider?
Yeah, it is, yeah. So it's narrow there, yeah. So it's narrow here and here, which makes sense because this is where we've lost that curve. Then the third thing I'm looking at is the shape of the bones. Now they're pretty smooth and flowy going around. The only thing I notice is, see this little white tip here? This little white tip. What that means is it's hard because the x-ray isn't going through. This is metal here, so that's very wide because it's metal. But what it's just saying is that that's hard on the edges there. So it's like a callus forming just on the edge of the bone. So it's not really obvious, but it's the start of those changes. Okay. This takes 4 to 60 months to correct. 100% correctable. I get lots of kids come in. When we x-ray them, they look like this or worse. Which is a shame because if they had chiropractic care earlier on, they wouldn't even look like this. But this is 100% correctable. Okay? And then what happens if we don't do anything to correct it? What do you think happens?
Everything goes old and rusty.
Yeah, so it gets worse then, yeah? So it goes old and rusty and gets worse. So this is phase 2, subluxation degeneration. 5 to 15 years of subluxation and 16 to 32 months to correct it. Okay, now that's 1 to 3 years to get the full structural correction. Now that doesn't mean to say that you're not going to see a change within a few weeks with a person's symptoms. But remember, the symptoms are the last thing to arrive and the first thing to disappear. So in other words, when the symptoms are gone, they still got a lot of problems. Okay, but 1 to 3 years to get a full correction. So what's happened to the curve?
When we say to correct, what do you mean by correct?
16 to 32 months to get a full structural correction.
What is correction?
Well, we start to move it back towards being a proper curve.
How do you achieve that?
Oh, I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Yeah, I'll explain that in just a second. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you're don't think, oh God, I'm going to have to be in pain for 16 months, because we can get results with the symptoms. The symptoms can change quite quickly. Sometimes in a few adjustments, sometimes in a few weeks, sometimes it takes a few months. It depends from person to person. Okay. But just looking for full structural correction, in other words, correcting the cause of the problem, for long term is going to take 1 to 3 years. Okay. So we talked curve. Which one? How's the curve looking?
If the green is the right one, it's the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. It's a reverse curve. It's a reverse curve. So and then we look at the disc space. So that's not bad. This is actually wider. That goes narrow again. How's that?
Narrow?
Yeah, narrow, yeah. And then this little wispy thing here, this is calcium. Because what's happening here, and this is important, when the disc starts to collapse, the body in its wisdom actually tries to fuse itself because it realizes the nerve's under pressure. So it tries to fuse itself. So this is actually a natural and correct response. Is it good for us or no? Because we're going to lose motion, but it's good for us in the respect that the nerve's going to have better function. Okay, so it's like an emergency response. Okay, we don't want it, but sometimes you need it. Okay, yeah, and that's about it. And then the shape of the bone. So smooth and flowy here, smooth and flowy. You're starting to get a little bit of a curve here, and then this is actually a big waist. So this has been squished down, and this one as well, and then this one as well. Okay. So that's the changes that we're talking about. Okay, and if we don't do anything again, it just gets worse. This is 15 to 20 years of subluxation process. So the curve is an S shape, so it's 2 types of bad. The discs, I can't see because this is calcium. This is completely fused. This is fused, yeah. This is very narrow, super narrow, tiny disc, and then this one is massively big.
How old is the person?
I don't know. It looks like there was some teeth change work. I'm not sure. Looks like there was some dental work. And then the shape of the bones. They're a mess, basically.
Okay.
All right. So when it's fused, when it's joined together, I can't unfuse it, but I can keep above and below moving better so they don't fuse. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's get to your stuff now. So this is yours to take away, right? Right. And then to start with, this page is the admin side of things. Okay. So this is your family health pass. So everything you've had up to this point here is usually 180. But with the family health pass, instead of 180, I do it at my expense. So it's actually free. Okay?
Come again.
Right. So this is a family health pass. This is for members of your family.
Family pass?
So members of your family. If anyone, when you've tried this, you think, well, it's a good idea for you to go and get a check, they can come and get checked by me. Everything you've had up to here, including the x-rays if they're needed, including all the scans, is usually 180. But with this, when you read it, you can bring 3 people in. I'm going to pay. So there's no
okay, I see.
So it's free. But there's there's 2 catches. It's just 3 people, so you have to work out if you've got 4 in your family, which ones you don't like so much. Okay, and the other is it's good for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they don't have to come in within 2 weeks. Just let Marissa know or myself know. Give them the details, and we'll get that booked up later. Okay. This is the 5 things every new patient should know. Okay. So this is 5 really important things. I just want you to read it. The next time you're here, I'm going to ask you about it. Okay.
Okay. In a nutshell, what is it about?
Well, just read it. Just read it.
I will. Okay.
In a nutshell, some of the things are what we talk about. Some of the things are a little new. But so it's all important.
Okay.
I wouldn't give it to you if it
Absolutely.
wasn't. Okay. Now these are the scans. So this is the one that we did yesterday. We actually had an issue with that one. So this is the new one. Okay. Now this is looking at temperature and temperature on the spine and the difference left to right. So if you're subluxated, there's more temperature on one side than the other. So how I read that, I look at the peaks. So this is a peak here because it's high there. Well, there's another one there technically, but I'm going to discount that one just because there's another one there. And then it crosses over. So it goes from there to this side. So where it crosses over, there's a subluxation side. So there's a peak there and it crosses back. And there's another peak there and then it crosses over again. And then it kind of runs down here and crosses over and there's a peak there and at the base as well. Okay. So these areas here, potential subluxation sites. And then this report here explains a little bit more in detail what that means there about the thermography. So basically nerve interference. This is the points of nerve interference. And then this is how your neck was moving. So functionally how your structure is moving, okay? There are 3 different ranges of motion we look at. The first one is flexion extension. What we're looking at here, the green is the average, the blue is you. Okay, so flexion minus 15%, extension minus 6%. Okay, lateral flexion minus 34% to the right, minus 29% to the left, and rotation minus 13% to the right, minus 31% to the left. Okay. Now the cool thing about this scan and all the other scans, it gives us a baseline of where you are now. Okay, so that in 12 visits later we're going to redo this scan and see what's changed. 12 visits later we redo this scan and see what's changed. Okay, so we can keep a track on what's happening objectively, as well as what you're feeling and what I'm feeling. All right. Okay, and then this is when I went down your spine with my hands and I was palpating and saying, yeah, this feels like subluxated there, subluxated there. It relates to areas and parts of the body and possible symptoms. So in the neck, you've got 4 areas. The mid-back, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 areas. And then the lower back, 3 areas. So have a little bit of a look at that later and see how that reads across. So it's like the one I showed you there, just in more detail. Okay, now let's get to the x-rays. Right, Mike, so these are your x-rays now. So if you sit here, sit in the middle, so you see what's going on. Okay, so first things first, how's your curve looking?
Quite straight.
Yeah, so it's straight. Yeah, so it's straight. So we've got a straight curve there. The next thing we're looking at is the disc space. So this is about the widest one. Okay, so it's wide here. How's that looking?
A bit narrow.
Yeah, narrow there. A little bit wider again there, but how's this?
A little bit narrow.
Narrow, yeah. So compared to that top one, these are all pretty narrow. Okay. And then the third thing I'm looking at is the shape of the bones. Okay, so that's relatively smooth and flowy. Actually, I think that's a little bit of calcium there. But as we come down here, there's definitely calcium there. You can see that. So it's trying to reach over. And then down here, here it is in big style. There's just that little gap. We can see there's still a gap there. So hopefully that's still moving, but it's working to try and to fuse itself down there. So the bottom area here is where you have the most damage. Okay. That bottom area. So this is where the most area of subluxation is. So that explains a lot as far as the restriction in motion is. The other thing is when you look at this, the nerves actually come out of here and they go into your shoulder, and they, we can't see the nerves around this top bone. This is the C1. This is the top bone. It's different to all of the rest because it's a ring. We can't really see the nerves around that, but I'm pretty certain the numbness at the back of the head is coming from some sort of nerve interference. Okay, and then I put the lines on. Now this here is just to give you a rough idea of what I was looking at. So the narrow, these are the narrow discs, and then these are just the calcium and the we talked about like the marshmallow sort of squishing down here. Yeah. So the green line is the ideal and the red line is you. Can you see the difference? Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. And then this is looking through your throat. So this is when you're looking up. I took the X-ray.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's level here and it's relatively level here. So that tells me that you actually, it looks as though you have what's called a translation. So the spine moves across about just over half a centimeter from there to there. Okay. Because I was wondering whether it was because you were looking up and you were twisting, but I don't believe it is because the head here and that area there are both straight. Okay, so let's see if there's something going on there as well, structurally. Now this is down at the base of your spine. This is your tailbone here. This is the leg socket, as it's called the femoral acetabular joint, but it just means where your leg bone comes into the pelvis. Okay, just to orientate you. And this is the back, and this is the tummies here. Okay, now. We didn't really talk about the curves here, but usually this is one here. This is textbook normal. Normally you can see a nice black gap. The difference here is this is switched over. Okay, it's switched over the opposite direction. You can see it nice and clear. See this big black hole here. Okay, that hole is, like on the model, that is exactly that hole there. Okay, so when we see the hole here, that is the hole. The nerve actually sits there. You can see it on this view. You couldn't see it the other one. But as I get down to here, I can't see it quite so much. You have got the pelvis coming over here, but it does get smaller here. In this case, what we're not seeing is we're not seeing those nice clean discs there. What we're actually seeing up here is we're seeing them both like that. So what that tells me when I look from this direction, that isn't going to be level. It can't be, otherwise I wouldn't see both both sides, like the far side and the front side. That's why you see this hole. So what does that mean? That just means there's pressure on those discs. And if there's pressure on the disc, there's more likely that's going to squish back and put pressure on the nerve. And what does that mean? It means it's going to give you lower back pain, it's going to give you numbness in the legs, weakness in the legs, problems even with your organs as well, potentially. In fact, very likely. Okay, so that area there is just pressure there, down there. And this is usually quite narrow when people have got spine problems. And in your case, yeah, that's narrower than we'd like to see. Okay, so I've just marked these discs there as being different because there's more pressure because of the angle, and this bottom one is narrow. And then just here, the shape of the bones, we didn't talk about that, but you can see the edge comes over and it makes like a waist. Yeah, so that ideally should be a square because you look there, they're just like a rectangular block. Okay, so there's changes there. In other words, there's a lot of adverse pressure there. This is looking through the belly button. Okay, so I'm looking at the pelvis there. I'm going to put lines across there, see how level that is. I want to see how level this is here because if we're living with imbalance, then it's out. In your case, there's a difference between the left and the right, 3 to 4, actually 4 to 5 millimeters there. But of note is really when I put a little line across the top of the vertebrae there, although it's relatively straight, it goes up pretty straight here, but then comes across. You can actually see that those vertebrae are off the horizontal. Okay, so there's an imbalance there. So when we were looking from the side, that's what we were seeing. We're seeing the top sides of the vertebrae. Okay, and as I said, this is where the nerves come out now. And we're back to the beginning. So we've got some work to do, yes?
Sorry?
So we've got some work to do, yes?
Looks like that.
It looks like it is that, yeah. It's that, yeah. So how important is it to you to get this corrected?
This is a very general question. It's the one answer.
Well,
it should be corrected. Yeah.
And some people look at it and go, well, I don't see that's a problem.
No, if it were not a problem, I wouldn't be here.
Well, that's true. That's true. But yeah, but you can see the extent of the damage there. And that isn't just a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's been going on for tens of years. Yeah. Okay. So most people, okay, Dr. Craig, what can I do starting today to get some sort of change? Yeah. So here it is. Oh, no, not from the beginning. I'll go from that one. There we go. So chiropractic care is a little bit like dental care in that you can't put a brace in and then 2 weeks later take it out and everything's back to balance. It's a process, yeah. I don't know if you've been through this yet, Mike, but I had both my kids had braces and it cost me $15,000. Yeah. Now I don't know about you. I don't begrudge them that, but it didn't change their function one bit. And everything we do here is completely geared towards changing function, improving function. And this is how we do it. This is the strategy we use. You know, you asked me how do we get these corrections. This is the strategy we use to make changes, okay, to get the long-term corrections. The first level is the adjustments in rhythm. Okay, that's when we work with you by hand, making small corrections in how the structure is, how the nerves are functioning, and how the muscles are functioning. Okay, so that's the chiropractic adjustments. That's the secret sauce of what we do here. That's why we get crazy good results. But the secret sauce is actually, once we clear those imbalances out, your body can heal a lot better. That's actually the secret sauce. But we're going to start with the adjustments, and a few weeks later, we're going to give you some spinal hygiene exercises. So if you like to think about like the dental hygiene, if coming to see us to get adjustments is a little bit like getting your teeth cleaned, the spinal hygiene exercises are like brushing your teeth. So the more you do that, the better results you're going to get, and the less you have to come to see me to get your adjustments. And then the third thing, the top of the pyramid, is nothing to do with chiropractic care. But if you tend to those things, then you're going to get better results because you'll be able to deal with stresses better. You're going to be able to hold your adjustments better, so your results are just going to be better and your functions are going to improve a lot quicker. And that's just general 4 pillars of health that we talk about. So for example, on Thursday, tomorrow, I've got the Loving Food pillar. So I'm doing a workshop online for all the practice members, and we talk about, I discuss areas of food that you can do to improve your health. And it's usually on different stuff. It's not the usual stuff you read on the internet. It's different stuff that we picked up over the last 20 years doing various health things. Okay, so when you get your Loving Life pyramid set up, we get that strategy set up, improves nerve system function, brings the muscles back into balance, brings the structure back into balance. When everything's in a better state of balance, your body can heal a lot better. So you know that at the moment there's going to be pressures on those discs in your lower back. When we start to unlock that, then there's going to be less pressure so that your body can actually heal it more effectively. Okay, so that's where you can actually, chiropractors see discs regenerating all the time. But medical people say it doesn't happen, but we know it does. Okay? It isn't going to happen if we don't change the structure, and that's what we do. We change, improve the structure, and that in turn is going to take pressure off the nerve system. So we slow down the downhill, that red spiral you saw, and we actually reverse it, and with your help we get it going the other way. And depending on how quickly you want to get it going, depends on both of us actually, but you mostly. Okay, and then this is the overall path. Dr. Mary Claude, my wife, she's been under care for 33 years, under chiropractic care. I've been under care for 22 years, and my kids have been under, they're 16 and 18, they've been under care for 16 and 18 years. That's what we call wellness care. You know? So if you were to ask me, Dr. Craig, is this good for family health? You know what I'm going to say. Yeah? So, but that's not what today's about. It's not about the wellness care. It's not even about the corrective care, which is 4 months to a year. But I'm just going to mention corrective care because it was after a year, and I was a patient for many years before I was a chiropractor. But it was after a year that I looked back, I wasn't getting the coughs and colds that I'd had for years. So I know my immune system function had improved. I wasn't getting the back pain. I didn't think I had back pain, but when I went under chiropractic care, I realized I wasn't getting all that pain that I used to get. So clearly I did. My energy levels had gone through the roof. And Dr. Marie Claude, at the year point, she wasn't having the thyroid issues that she'd had since she was a little girl, and she was told she had to be on medication for the rest of her life. She wasn't having the acid reflux and the vomiting, and the hip problems she'd had as an international competitor got less and less and less. So we know if you want to say I've tried chiropractic, you've got to at least give it a year. See, it's your body; you can do what you want. But we just suggest you can't really judge chiropractic till you give them a year. But that isn't what we're about today. Today we're really talking about initial intensive care, which is basically the first 4 months, and that's where we do the most work. Now, in your case, phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3, which do you think in the neck, for example?
But it's always the worst, I think.
It is phase 2, early phase 3, but it's phase 2. It's not 100% phase 3 yet. And then down the lower spine is phase 2. So that's like 1 to 3 years to get full correction. But for you, the initial intensive care, it's actually just the first 4 weeks where we've got to do the most work. So I need to see you 3 times a week for the first 4 weeks. Can you make that?
I should plan that, but I think it's doable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's super doable. And it'll be between 5 and 15 minutes. It won't be as long as this. Okay, so you can make that?
Well, I should plan, but it's doable. It's doable.
Okay, so sorry, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's possible because 3 times a week, it's like half an hour. Yeah, we can do that.
Excellent, great. So we'll start 3 times a week, then we'll drop it down to twice a week. And then after 12 visits, we're going to stop. We're going to see what's changed. We're going to take the scans again, and then we'll see what's changed with you, and then we'll carry on. Okay, so the first 12 visits will be about here. The second, we'll be coming for another 12 there. And then the third 12, when we get to this one, we're going to redo all the scans we've already done. Okay? Right. And then most people want to know, okay, Dr. Craig, how much is this going to cost? There's your x-rays. Okay, so I've done copies of them there. So we'll do 3 times a week for 4 weeks, 2 times a week for 12 weeks. We're going to do some exercises. We're going to do some traction. That's to help calm the curve in your neck. Okay, we do that after about the second progress exam. And I'm going to re-x-ray you at 6 months. Okay, because we want to make sure that we're going in the right direction. Things are changing. Okay, now this is the package for the first 4 months. So it's 36 chiropractic visits, 62 a visit. Okay, there's 3 exams at 50 an exam, and there's 2 workshops at 30. Now, to make it easier for people, we've made 2 bundles, which is exactly the same care, you just pay for it slightly differently. So in this case, this is a monthly bundle, so you pay for this once a month. So instead of 62, the cost of that one is 55 a visit. Plus, I pay for the exams, and I pay for the workshops. So that saves you $462. And costs $495 a month for 4 months. Okay, and then there's this one for some people who want a little bit more of a discount, or they want more of a discount, or they want to just get it paid out of the way. It's $50 a visit, plus I pay for the exams, and I pay for the workshops. So that saves you $642, and the total investment's $1,800. So which works best for you?
I have to sit down. It's lots of digest information. Okay. And these adjustments, which we will be doing, can we try it today? I want to understand what it is. Well, usually we get going
straight away.
But before sign up, I want to understand what it is about.
I know. Did you not see me adjusting people in that when you were here before?
I didn't pay much. But I know how it usually goes. So it's, but I want to feel it, what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Here's the thing. When we start care over the first couple of weeks, it can be up and down. Okay, so in other words, I can adjust you today. You might feel a lot worse tomorrow.
That's fine.
Which is why I normally start with, that's why I need some sort of commitment. But if you're saying that, yes, 4 months is definitely doable, finances is doable, I just want to see what the adjustment's like, because I'm curious. So but you've been adjusted before, haven't you? A couple of times.
I tried.
Yeah.
Several times, I think, yes.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So what would you like?
First,
I don't want you to get adjusted and get bad results because you like a couple of visits down the line, you're like, well, I don't do this.
But it's not on you. I understand. But I just want, in order to have the complete package, I will take some of this with me today, yes?
Yeah, this is all yours.
Yeah,
this is all yours.
I brought this tip, you told me. And, but to have, I understand it's not on you. I can feel better and worse.
Right.
It's on me. I know how it
Here's
works.
The thing. Today is Wednesday.
Yeah.
I normally see people 3 times a week the first week. So I need to see you tomorrow. Okay?
Tomorrow.
So I need to see you tomorrow for certain because I don't want to adjust your day and leave you 4 days or whatever until Monday.
Okay, if it is what you do, that's fine as well, no problem. I just wanted to I can come tomorrow as well, probably. If it's not possible today, that's fine.
This is what I'll do. I don't normally do this. Normally I have people commit to 4 months or you just take it away and think about it, which you can do. I'm completely happy with that. If I adjust you, I want you to come for 2 weeks minimum. Because what I don't want you to do is get through like one adjustment and go, well, that's it, I'm done. I'm not really into that. It's hurting because it could hurt. Even at the end of 2 weeks, it might hurt. But I need you at least to commit to the first 6 visits.
Okay.
I don't really do that. The only reason I'm doing it is I can see where you're coming from. I get a feel for that. I can get a feel for why you're saying that. I don't normally do that. I normally just say, well, just don't anything.
I just, whatever you do, I appreciate
because
that.
In 2 weeks, it's not a magic wand. Everything's not going to be fixed, but at least you'll have experienced a couple of adjustments and then you can make, and you may have even experienced a few changes. I don't know, positive changes, but you also might experience a negative change. I don't know, because I'm not God. I don't know how the body's going to respond. Mostly when we start unlocking people, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride, okay? So you can have start feeling good and then slip a bit, or maybe you just start feeling bad. Let me explain this way. 10% of people, they feel good after the first few adjustments. 10% of people actually feel worse initially, but it improves with time. And 80% of people just have a gradual improvement over time.
Let me say that I'm by origin and by my quite cynical. It's not an insult, and I want you to understand me correctly. Just I don't expect any miracles. I know that through my life I haven't seen one. Yes.
Right.
And
we got a long way to go, is the point.
I absolutely
so if you want to
understand.
commit to 2 weeks because you want to feel an adjustment, okay, that would be reasonable. And it's not about I want to get 2 weeks worth of money out of you. I don't care about that. It's just I don't want you to start being a bucket after 1 or 2 adjustments, say that chiropractor's a quack or whatever, and I disappear, being in more pain than when you start. But it's easy. All you do is you pay $62 a visit for the next 2 weeks and then decide whether you want to pick up one of these. Okay? But this is really what I was after with you. At the end of a couple of weeks, you need to commit to the 4 months, really. And it doesn't mean to say you've got to pay. You just got to say, Dr. Craig, I'm happy with what we're doing. I'm here for the rest of the 4 months. Normally I wouldn't really.
Yes.
Okay?
Absolutely makes sense.
Right.
No problem.
But you do need to make it tomorrow. I've got to be quite firm.
Tomorrow, yes, we can try that. Just I have to check something, but it's still.
I'm open in the morning and the afternoon. It doesn't have to be with me. It can be with my wife, but you just need another adjustment. Right.
Okay. I will try my best. Yes, absolutely.
We'll go through to get adjusted. So if you grab your
Stop.
Yeah, just grab your stuff. Right. So I'm not sure. I can't adjust you unless you can definitely get in tomorrow. So why don't you go sort out with one smoking racer?
Okay, I don't want you to do what you are not comfortable. I'm not like pressing you. Do it. And adjustment for tomorrow. What time do you have for tomorrow?